This week we're in Indonesia for round 11 of the FIA World Rally Championship. But for Colin McRae, the weekend could be make or break. Engine failures in Portugal, New Zealand and Finland have left him in third place in the Drivers' Championship with only 4 rounds remaining. And with Tommi Mäkinen having such a commanding lead in the series, would even victory this weekend keep Colin in the championship? Indonesia, a land of mystery and beauty, paddy fields and stifling heat. Arriving in Indonesia, Tommi Mäkinen held an 18-point lead in the Drivers' Series. Realistically, he could only be caught by 2 men, Carlos Sainz and Colin McRae. But Subaru had problems. The Imprezas had suffered those 3 cam-belt failures and the team had been working hard to cure the fault. The burning question was, had they succeeded?
They did a lot of testing in Wales after Finland, and we did 3 days testing here, and so far we didn't have any more problems, so I really hope it's okay now.
They've certainly made modifications again, and they reckon they know exactly what the problem is, so I mean it's a start. We'll see how it goes.
Another long journey for the teams brought them to the only Asian round of the championship. The Rally Indonesia is also the newest round, making its first appearance in the series only last year. The rally's based in the city of Medan on the island of Sumatra, and the stages use the roads around the rubber, palm oil and cocoa plantations south of the city. Leg 1's 8 stages took the cruise from Medan to the tourist resort of Parapat on the shores of Lake Toba. If it rained, the already difficult roads would offer about as much grip as ice.
Last year, so what qualities does the best driver need?
The best driver, or let's say whoever wins each rally, that's the best driver on that rally.
The Ford team, however, hadn't done much testing for Indonesia, so leg 1 was a chance for them to fine-tune the cars. Tommi Mäkinen retired here last year, but was now on the verge of securing his 2nd successive world title.
Nyppykymmenen oikein nopea plussa aukeaa oikaisen vähän oja ulkona lopussa. 250.
I need to go as fast as I can, but I think I don't need to take a necessary biggest risk.
So the scene was set. 4 victories so far this year had given Tommi a healthy championship lead. Could he take another one to leave his 2 rivals, Sainz and McRae, tangled in his web? McRae crashed out of last year's Rally Indonesia while leading by over 3 minutes. He couldn't afford a repeat performance and set off in determined style, fastest through the first stage. The fight was on, both for the rally and the championship.
Because we're so far behind Tommy now after the disasters we've had, it's to win all 4 and hope that he is a bad one. That's the only way that the championship's going to be possible.
The lead was shared with Mäkinen after stage 2, but from stage 3 onwards, McRae began to pull away.
Toyota's new Corolla World Rally car first appeared in Finland at the end of August. Their lead driver Didier Auriol, a novice here.
It's completely different rally, and absolutely no experience here. It's the first time for me. And okay, the road is very typical here. I never drive in the style of this road in another country.
Front differential problems effectively left the car with only 2-wheel drive for much of the day. Auriol finding the conditions a real challenge. The second Ford Escort was driven by the man who finished 3rd here last year, Juha Kankkunen.
100. One flat left, 70, over small crest.
Damage caused by a heavy landing cost Kankkunen victory in 1996. The difference between winning and losing here can be tiny.
always when it is like that, it's a bit of lottery. Take the right choice on tires and you know how the stage goes and things. Easy to do mistakes on this weather.
Kenneth Eriksson, like his teammate McRae, has won 2 events so far this year. Engine failures cost him dearly too, and a victory here would do a lot for the team's shaken confidence. Eriksson's aim in Indonesia, like almost everyone else's, was to beat Tommi Mäkinen.
Yeah, that's my target, but it will be difficult, not only him, Carlos and you, and of course all the other drivers as well. It will be a hard fight, but of course my target is to win the rally.
Richard Burns missed Finland, but in Indonesia was back as number 2 driver in the Mitsubishi team.
I think here right long slippy. Keep right to K-left plus slippy.
Burns was another victim of retirement last year, but remembers only too well the conditions faced by all the crews.
It's about as hot and uncomfortable as you can possibly get, and it gets up to, I don't know what temperatures inside, maybe 70 degrees Celsius inside the car, and it is horrible. On the short stages it's not too bad, and we've got a sort of a cool vest to wear as well, which has sort of pumps cold water around, but on long stages it's not very nice at all.
And how much are you drinking to keep hydrated?
Well, I remember the doctor the first year we came here kept a tab on how much water we drank, and it was 15 litres during one day, so we have to keep it topped up.
The second Toyota Corolla was driven by Australian champion Neil Bates, but a sticking throttle would trouble him all day.
Into lid, 4.5. Oops.
That incident on stage 1 cost nearly 6 minutes, and the throttle problem left him frustrated at being unable to show his true potential on the world stage. Damage to the engine meant that he would retire at the end of the first leg. Behind the World Championship contenders, Formula 2, the 2-litre Cup, was led by Harry Rovanperä in the Seat, who ended the day in 12th place overall. In Group N, meanwhile, the Proton Wira of Karamjit Singh led. Singh was excluded from the results last year and was out to prove his excellent 7th place hadn't been a one-off. Toyota might have a new car, but there'll be Celica's rallying for many years to come. Yoshio Fujimoto was 9th in his at the end of leg 1. The stifling humidity was making life uncomfortable for all the crews, but the weather was about to change. The wind brought clouds and rain. At Subaru, all the talk concerning the last pair of stages was about tyres.
In the moment it's raining on stage number 8, but not on 7, so it can be very difficult with tyre choice. Very difficult.
14-second lead at the moment. Is that the sort of comfortable lead you were hoping for?
You know, it's good to be leading, but in this condition, then it can change in one stage. That's the thing. We've just got to be really careful and make sure we get the tyre decision right.
Toyota were also worried about tyres, but over at Ford, Sainz's car was getting a new suspension setup, identical to that on Kankinen's Escort.
Well, at the moment, you know, we haven't made any testing before the rally, and I'm not very confident with the suspension I was using, and I'm trying something new.
It seems to be working on Juha's car. Are you hoping it'll do the same on yours?
Well, maybe, you know, it's Juha, it's not the suspension, you never know.
Burns had been plagued by a misfire all day, but once it was cured, he was a changed man. His charisma was fastest on stage 8, the last of the day.
Flat right minus 100. Flat right 60.
It was incredible. Some places you're braking for maybe 200 meters just to try and slow down, and the car just wants to go straight on. But I honestly don't know how we got a good time. We just kept it going and didn't take any risk, and but kept on the road by using the banks in a few places. I say, setting a fastest time, it didn't feel like it. It felt like the slowest fastest time I've done.
Go 120.
Kankinen and his co-driver Juha Repo also set the quickest time on one of the day's stages and would end leg 1 in 3rd place. Mäkinen had been unable to match McRae's pace for much of the day, but on stage 8 he found he was pushing a little too hard.
Joko oikein sumppuun.
Luckily for Tommy, the accident happened close to the end of the stage, so only 8 seconds were lost to McRae.
Ja lyhytlasen eri.
Fastest or equal fastest on 5 of the day stages, Colin McRae's domination of the rally was almost total. Yet the 1995 world champion still managed to look relaxed. If he was under pressure from Mäkinen, he wasn't letting it show. A broken turbo intercooler had frustrated Mäkinen's attempt to catch the leader. Yet Tommy was another who looked as though he hadn't a care in the world. He was content to sit back and see what would happen on day 2.
We'll see tomorrow weather how it is. If it's like today, it's going to be a difficult day.
But can you catch up 38 seconds?
If it's like today, everything can happen. Everything is quite possible.
Tommy had problems today. Does that make you worry about what he could pull out tomorrow?
Not really. I mean, he's hell of a lucky. If you see the damage to his car and he got away with it without any problems, I mean, most anybody else would have burst a radiator or something. He's got a lot of luck with him.
You hold your breath until it's actually finished.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen.
McRae's lead at the end of leg 1 was 35 seconds, while another 31 were all that separated the next 3 places. Ericsson was 5th, nearly a minute and a half behind his teammates.
An early start to leg 2 saw the crews out of bed before dawn to tackle the first of 8 stages. Lake Toba provided the backdrop for that first stage at over 16 miles, the longest of the day. The second leg looped northwards away from the lake before returning to Parapat for a second night. Concentration never wavering, Colin McRae was fastest on both the first 2 stages, his lead stretching to nearly a minute. Mäkinen was trying hard, but to no avail. McRae was in a league of his own.
Ja pitkännyksen täysmiinus pomppii. 8 huomio. Hyppy jatkuu hidas oikein. 3. Hae pirun pitkä hidas vaan se kivi sisällä tiukasta.
As the morning wore on, the Fords seemed to move up a gear. Sainz took 15 seconds off Mäkinen on stage 11, the same stage on which Kankinen set the fastest time. Kenneth Eriksson had changed the suspension on his Subaru, but it didn't seem to help. Over the first 3 stages, he lost 17 seconds to the man behind him, Richard Burns. His 5th place was starting to come under threat. Burns was Mr. Motivated. He had a great morning, quicker than team leader Mäkinen on all but stage 10.
Richard, 2 stages this morning, what were they like?
Well, they were a little bit worse than they were yesterday. The first one was quite a lot wetter, and unfortunately we spun on the first one and then we lost about 15 seconds. It was quite a fast spin in about 5th gear, and we lost a bit of the front sun guard and damaged the intercooler. So we had to take it a bit more careful through the second stage.
Toyota's problems continued, and Oriol's rally ended after only 10 stages when he stopped with electrical failure. The new Corolla is not having the best of starts. No such worries though for Karamjit Singh, who still led Group N and would be 6th overall by the end of the day. With both Bates and now Oriol gone, Yoshio Fujimoto was the leading Toyota driver. He would be 5th. Seat, meanwhile, continued to dominate Formula 2, with Harry Rovanpera well into the top 10 by the end of the leg.